Hi Tammy, this is Keith. We're going to show you around the property real quick, okay?
Cool. Let's go.
You never get a second chance at a first impression. So when people first drive up here, when I got the rent sign out, they can see a very clean, clutter-free parking lot. And I've got all the signs up finally on tenant parking and no trespassing. So when something happens and the police would come out in the past, they wouldn't do anything without signage. So now that they have signage, all the riffraff's gone now though. I don't have to worry about that. The dumpster, the guy comes up in here to empty the dumpster and it's kept clean, but I've got an overhead limb here that at some point in time is going to have to be cut down. It's not necessary right now, but the dumpster driver is having difficulty, so I'm sure R&H will be able to do that without having to have a contractor. Really good. They replaced the fence a few years ago, and there's like gravel all the way down. There's nothing growing on the building. There's no trees that are up against the building at all, and it's pretty well maintenance free. I don't have to get back in here very often to do anything. The only clutter you see on the ground, the bricks and broken window. Last year maintenance had to do something on all the ledges, support the ledges with something so they would not, water would not get into the apartments. They didn't do a very good job at cleaning up. Now, this is the east side of the building. This was not very easy. This is what I told you. I spent about 2 weeks last year. There was about 20 years of growth and vines and everything up against the building here. I got in here, cleaned it all out. Anson did promise me that his folks would come in and clean all these pipes out of here, these bricks, these empty caulks, because I've seen possums come up in here. I've had snakes up in here. And I'm sure there's a few roaches that like to make their home there. So this is about 8 months ago, and I'm kind of hoping that Anson will get his folks over here and clean it out. That'll make it easier for me to go on there regularly and to be able to clean it out.
Hold on one more time.
Okay.
You're good.
Let's go into the courtyard. These are the electrical boxes. I got them to repaint these last year and they look good. But the major problem here is when there is an electrical problem here at Hyde Park, these are all numbered wrong on both sides of the complex. None of these are numbered right, so we really have to disturb other residents not having problems whenever we do have an electrical problem. And this is the washroom, the laundry room. 2 washers, 2 dryers. It's not very hard to keep this upkept. Once a week I usually get in here and clean it up pretty good unless somebody dyes something black in the washer, creating a problem. And here's the stairwell. We finally got those painted last year, so there's no chips or anything underneath there. And this is the main courtyard. I think I just emailed you a couple of days ago. I bought the 25 landscape timbers. Anson did tell me just to deduct it from my rent. And here you see the main courtyard and the individual gardens that people have. Once again, I try to keep anything from growing on the building. It's an old building and I don't like vines or bushes or anything crawling up on the walls. On either side, let's see if we can climb the stairs. Where is the guttering? Okay, this is the upstairs version. You see this brown guttering that runs along the roof on top. See it on the roof itself? The lines that go all the way across. Yeah, that's the guttering. I've never seen guttering that wasn't put on the edge, but I think they thought maybe the weight would be too much. Because for years when I first moved in here, when the rain would be very, very hard, and I'm sure you see this in Denver, it would come cascading off here to the lower level. It was only a 6-inch drain. Wasn't enough to take all the water out. And so my apartment and Okie and Brenda's apartment would flood. And I mean, I've 10 or 12 times we've had our apartments flooded, but not since that got fixed about 8 or 9 years ago. They actually redid the drain from the parking lot to the street. And now, even though it rains really hard, still the guttering and the drain is taking care of that flooding problem. We're going to go in back now, and I'm going to show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's go out back and let me show you what's going on there. Okay, this is the back of the property, and this is the hardest part right here. Whenever somebody has AT&T has to come back in here and do, and this is where they do it. Whenever somebody has Comcast is able to do it from the front of the property, but I always have to come through Brenda and Oki's apartment. This is one thing I don't know if you know, and in the future if something happens, but apartment number 7 is the only way we can access the back of this property. So whenever the sewer people have to come in, or the plumbers have to come in, they have to come through apartment 7. That's not a problem now, but in the future, if we had to rent that out, that's something they would have to know. The drain points here, the one right there, when our sewer people come and they have to snake it out, all I have to do is unscrew that cap. But if it's a city problem and that overflows, unfortunately it hadn't happened for a couple of years. It used to be a major problem at least once every 3 months or so. Whenever that overflows, the city actually has to come out and they have to fix that. Our plumbers are not able to do that. And let's go on this side. Oh boy, this is better than it was when I first took over almost 3 years ago now. This was completely full of weeds, and you could not see the first air conditioner there on the corner there. Everything here was almost up to the levels there. Getting back in here and getting it under control, it took quite a while, but now everything's under control. But as you can see, with the spring coming, I need to get back in here and do some more work down here. What I have to do is put buckets under here and down on the other end. The condensation from the air conditioners drip into here. I try to keep it dry back here, so roaches, lizards, and I've even seen snakes back here, so I try to keep it as dry as possible. And what I do is take the water and just empty it under drain on this side right here about once a week. And we can get in here so I can show you. Just do the best you can there. And this was the other end of the side that I showed you, to where I had to knock all the vines and the weeds up underneath there. This is under control here, and it's not too bad back here, but I still would like R&H to come back and move all these fence posting and fencing and stuff to make it a little easier for me to keep it clean back here on a regular basis. That's the property here in Hyde Park. Hope you enjoyed the little video. If you got any questions or comments, you know how to get a hold of me. Thanks.